But I
you know.
declined at first.
Yeah, but I didn't really listen to him, as I don't really listen to him now.
Because I had agreed, I'm like, I'll help you,
Yeah.
like I'll help out or whatever.
But that meant to me like he's in.
By the end of the night, I was just like, I guess this is it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then it became kind of.
And it just, yeah, 4 of us all the way through.
For the reason why I met Nina was
kind of like ascended to heights that up to that point I've never, you know, I've never had a costume. I just think the importance is telling.
And you're just at that time, you're really, overused, but it just felt so right at that time.
Because there was no doubt in both our minds when we saw each other that this was the beginning of something.
I got hooked up with it through Richard. He invited me to come to this play reading, and I was like, oh man, what is this? A bunch of Asians getting together. They probably aren't that good.
I said that the first time I met Richard Lee was because he was making out with my husband in a staged reading.
I don't know how I found out about Fu Chen.
He had told me that it had some sort of like Asian link. I think there was something like that, and I was a little bit like, well, I don't know, I've never been part of like an Asian gang.
There were a lot of hot girls. That was key, I think, to the formation of Fu Chen, really.
So the first show that I worked on with Fu Chen was Banana Boys. I knew Lee Aquino. I was the sound designer for that show. Since then, I've probably done about 7 shows with them. Before Fu Chen, I wasn't getting paid to make music. There was no real outlets for me to get to work it as a playwright. Fu Chen was the place where I got to be validated in that way.
It was happening all around the same time where I was just trying to find like people with similar interests, right? And the reason why I met Nina was, and I was like, oh, we got to check out this show. And when I went to check out the show, that's when I met Nina.
And then so when I finally came out, like he introduced himself to me and kind of said, hi, you know, my name's Leon, I have a play. Here's kind of what I'm interested in and what I'm really passionate about. And I'm like, really? You know, because it's the same thing I'm passionate about. Let's talk.
Fu Chen. You know, I'd like to say that I was one of the original founders, but I wasn't. I graduated York University. Richard Lee was 2 years behind me. At York, there was this Asian bloodstream that was flowing from year to year. Every year, there was at least one Asian. There was a lack of work. There was a lack of plays written by Asians, but there was a lack of directors and no one to like look up to, no one except for Jean Yoon. So I was just kind of doing my own thing, trying to work, and I got hooked up with it through Richard. You know, I was pleasantly surprised.
And so the idea of holding play readings was a way for me and Leon to kind of discover and sift through all the plays that I had.
We first found out about Fu Chen when it had just started. And David was in touch with us and he was getting involved with this thing. They were reading plays in a church basement. And then we just became involved in fundraisers and volunteering. Even though it's culturally specific theater company, it has a very wide reach. As the non-Asian Canadian general manager of Fu Chen, why do you align with the company? It's because the fundamental values that make Fu Chen what it is, they speak to me directly. All the things that Fu Chen is intending to do and create and overcome are all things that I believe in.
We met David at the Green Room.
You and I met because we got locked out of Cross Currents Festival, and then for all of a sudden, all 4 of us in the Green Room kind of had this serious talk.
From the beginning, we were talking about sustainability. We were talking about the future, something that exists that is bigger than the 4 of us.
If we can grow as a community, if we can, as a community, get stronger by practicing our craft, then we're out there. We're putting ourselves out there and daring people, I think, in my opinion, to not cast us. We're capable. We're able to do it. We're good playwrights. We're great actors. We're fantastic directors. What do you have to say?
I went to school with Richard Lee, and then I guess throughout the years, Richard just called me in to do some readings, and from there I couldn't shake these Fujianers. I never grew up being like, listen, I'm Asian. It wasn't until I got into casting that you realize that, you know, they're like, well, we're going to have you be a war bride, and then you're going to be a mail order bride. Are you excited? And that was the thing about Fujian, that like it opened that up. It wasn't an Asian gang, it was just a gang of people that were like me. We were just looking for interesting parts. You know, I didn't have to be a geisha in everything, and I didn't have to be a scientist in everything, you know? It wasn't like, nyeh, or like boom, boom, boom.
At that time, Banana Boys, the novel, had come out. It was a breakthrough novel in that it did speak of the Asian Canadian experience from a male point of view.
Again, it was all around this time. It was like a voice that I was so happy to see represented.
I think that, you know, it was bold, it was gutsy, it was unapologetic, but it had a young vibe to it. It was non-linear, it was frenetic. You know, but I think it was really important. Banana Boys was really important. It was a crucial point in Fujian's trajectory. It was important to kind of go, okay, the heart really of nurturing the Canadian voice was to go straight to the voices themselves, which were the playwrights. And after that, hence the kitchen was born, and everything and anything that would support the Asian Canadian playwrights, we did.
So I was writing songs and poems and my little short stories, and they started the kitchen, which is the playwriting unit. And I was part of the first one, and I wrote a little short play called Rain Shadow. And then I was invited to be part of the third playwriting unit, K3. And that's when I had the idea for Kim's Convenience. And then they would kind of do a public reading of the play. And so that was the birth of Kim's Convenience. So that really gave me a home and nurtured that side of me as an artist. And it's not only just nurturing, but it was deadlines, which artists need. And then they actually, Kim's Convenience was part of the Mega Potluck, where it got a bit more fully staged reading with professional actors.
First time I participated in their kitchen potluck was for a workshop production of Prison Dancer, and it was an amazing success, and it really set the tone of what Prison Dancer was going to be. Fujian was what incubated a lot of up-and-coming talent and gave them that place to explore and to discover their own craft. And so for Prison Dancer to have its first incarnation in front of that community, it really gave us the impetus to continue with that project. But there's still something really special about the first one. The emotional structure from the workshop carried through very much to the last version that we did.
I had promised myself, like, you know, someday, you know, Asian Canadians will have its own conference. I didn't really expect to have Genesis that early.
But watching that congregation happen, participating in some of the panels and events that occurred was so satisfying for me to know that in some way we had achieved a home.
But I think what was really special about it for me was that it was the marriage of art and academia, and artists for the first time were meeting the academics who are studying them and hearing this critical analysis of their work and how that has inspired the practice of Asian Canadian theatre studies.
For me, I was also meeting a lot of the younger theatre artists who were like, you know, coming up to me and going, oh yeah, I love reading Banana Boys. And it made you feel like, whoa, that was just a few years ago, but its impact already is so palpable in the community.
Well, when I think about Fujian and where it can go, I look at that original Banana Boys crew that we had. I just remember feeling like the ripple that we were making was going to resonate for a while. Everyone from that initial production have shattered and like ascended to heights that up to that point have never been touched.
I'm excited about touring, which is where I think Fujian is going next. I think that we are at a point where we have enough new work that it's time to take that work and bring it to other communities so that they can learn about Fujian, so that we can learn about them.
I can't believe that it's been 10 years, actually. There have been footsteps forward, and where, you know, Fujian has really been a big part of that.
I remember 1 month, there was like 20 Asian actors in all the major theaters in Toronto, which was like, I remember Derek Chua saying, this is like an amazing feat. In 1 month or 2 months, we have so many Asian actors and directors and designers working in professional theaters in Toronto. And that could not have happened without Foo
The
Jen.
more people engage with us, the richer we'll be, because we really do represent the community. The stronger that community is and the more they open up to us, the richer our practice will be and the better we'll be able to represent them.
Well, I just want the young graduates to know a couple of hot streaks does not make a career. That if we're not continually giving back to the institutions that are giving a place to jump off from, then it's a disservice to your own career.
If something isn't there that you want to be there, create it yourself.
It takes time and it takes more than a handful of people.
You can't be content just working within like the Asian community. I feel like you need to get wins outside, but you need to get what you learned outside and bring it back to the Asian community, because at the end of the day, no one's gonna write better stories for the Asian actors than Asian people.
I think the image that holds just that wall of headshots that we had, it's like when you walk in, you just see this like, and it was everybody that was in the Potluck Festival, all the artists that were on the panels, and it was just to think of when we started and we were like 11 people in a room, to this giant wall of artists and how the community had grown.
I'm so happy that so many Asian theater artists are working everywhere.
Work hard. Have that sense of rigor in your practice.
There's always new faces that are coming out, and so what I'm looking forward to is getting to know all of them and watching the trajectory of these new people and what they come up with. Where they go is very much where we go.
Happy birthday, Foo Jen! Yay!
Congratulations, Foo Jen, on 10 years of history making.
Happy birthday, Foo Jen, for 10 years of making theater for the people of the world.